gets it circulating on the morning talk shows. He was not recruiting.
When the Portland Trail Blazers traded Damian Lillard away, it marked the beginning of a new era for Rip City. They landed the 3rd overall pick in an insanely stacked draft class and took Scoot Henderson with the hopes of finding their next superstar. But what they didn't know was that the new main man in Portland was already on their roster, and his name is Shaedon Sharpe. When Anthony Simons got injured, we expected Scoot to take the reins and drive a young Blazers team in the right direction. What we saw was the exact opposite, shooting 35% from the field and a dismal 13% from 3. Not to mention averaging more turnovers than assists. Fans were starting to worry that they picked the wrong prospect. But that worry was quickly turned into excitement as Shaedon Sharpe absolutely exploded onto the scene. The 20-year-old is averaging 20+ points and 6 rebounds a game, putting together a pretty convincing case so far for most improved. And I fully expect these numbers to rise as he gains more confidence and gets even more accustomed to being the go-to man. What makes him so exciting though? Well, I think the correct question is, what isn't exciting about him? Most fans first heard of Sharpe because of his insane vertical jump, absolutely leaping out of the building in the games he played at the back end of last year. As a freshman at Kentucky, Shaedon Sharpe reportedly posted a 49-inch vertical leap. Do you understand how goddamn high that is? To put it into perspective, Michael Jordan has the highest jump in NBA history with a 48-inch vert. Keep in mind, Shaedon Sharpe did this as a freshman in college, and now after being in the NBA system for a while with better strength training and jumping mechanics, I seriously think he could jump 50+ inches. The kid blocks shots like it's nothing and has an even easier time posterizing opponents. He's exciting to watch and threatens Portland fans with highlight plays every time he steps on the court. The unfortunate thing that seems common with explosive players like Sharpe though is injuries. Players like Derrick Rose and Zion Williamson, who captivated NBA fans with their heads above the rim, generated so much jumping power that their bodies couldn't handle it. Jumping is so heavy on not only the knees and ankles, but also relies on all the major leg muscles working together to provide upwards force. If one muscle is substantially weaker than the others, then that's when injuries can start to occur. But enough of being a Debbie Downer and worrying about injuries. The minutes that Shaedon Sharpe is playing every night is enough indicator that he is super healthy and showing no signs of slowing down. The young Blazer is logging 40+ minutes on a nightly basis in games that are only 48 minutes long. Not many players can keep that up at the rate he is, but he seems to be handling it just fine. Even managing to play 46 minutes in an overtime victory against Memphis while battling a head cold. You could say it was the Shaedon Sharpe flu game. In only his 2nd year, he's taken control of this young Blazers side when no one expected him to. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully expect Scoot to turn around his poor start to his NBA career and be a star in his own right for Portland. Scoot possesses all the necessary traits to become an elite point guard in today's league and evidently just lacks confidence at the moment. The season is long and he will find his rhythm, but instead of waiting for it to click for Scoot, why not ride the hot hand? Shaedon Sharpe has been able to flourish under no pressure because everyone was just focused on how Scoot would replace Lillard. With no weight on Shaedon's shoulders and really nothing to lose, all he had to do was go out there and go bonkers, which is what he's doing. The former 7th overall pick was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was the #1 overall recruit in the 2022 class, reclassified into the 2021 class, and opted to attend Kentucky over offers from Kansas and the NBA G League, among others. College fans were excited to see his explosiveness, and he was expected to be a dynamic playmaker for the Wildcats. But why have we never seen any Kentucky highlights of Sharpe? Well, he never actually played a game for them. Obviously, we've heard of kids skipping college entirely to play in the G League or going straight to the NBA like Kobe, but this is an entirely new situation I had never seen before. You see, Shaedon was at college. He was at Kentucky, but he just chose not to play for the Wildcats basketball team. He basically said in an interview he knew he could get better at basketball without playing. He was in the gym every day, he said, just continuing to work on his craft. I think everyone would agree that as a hooper, the best part of basketball is actually playing games, but Sharpe just decided to train some more. This led to a huge cloud of mystery forming around the draft prospect, with recruiters unsure how to feel about Shaedon not taking part in any competitive games for over a year. But his status as the #1 recruit coming out of high school couldn't be denied, and Sharpe was touted top 10 in almost all scouts' eyes. One analyst predicted Shaedon Sharpe to go #5 to the Pistons, saying Sharpe is a bit of a mystery man after declaring for the draft without playing a single game for Kentucky. But his elite scoring ability and leaping athleticism are a match made in heaven next to a playmaker of Cunningham's caliber. It made sense, but the uncertainty seemed too much for Detroit, and they took Jaden Ivey at pick 5 instead. Sharpe was taken 2 picks later at 7 to the Trailblazers, and boy does it look like they got a gem. In only his second year, I don't think Shaedon expected to find himself with such a high workload and usage on a nightly basis. Partially timing, partially hard work, it seems to be playing in Sharpe's favor so far. Shaedon began the season as one of Portland's main options off the bench, complementing the starters nicely as he flashed what he had improved on in the offseason. As soon as Anthony Simons went down for 4 to 6 weeks with an apparent thumb injury, Sharpe was injected into the starting lineup and didn't look back, averaging 20-plus points on pretty good efficiency. Portland's injury struggles had only just begun, however, and Scoot Henderson, who after getting off to a poor start, couldn't catch a break and injured his ankle. This only boosted Sharpe's offensive usage even more, and for someone playing 40-plus minutes every night, that is going to lead to a lot of opportunities. Just when the Blazers front office hoped that the injury nightmares were over, Malcolm Brogdon, who had been playing well in the absence of Scoot and Simons, picked up a hamstring strain in a game against the Sacramento Kings. With most other main offensive options out for the Blazers, they took to Sharpe and Jeremy Grant, who between the two of them will have to keep Portland afloat. Shaedon Sharpe was born in Canada and could be pushing for a call-up to the national team soon. The 20-year-old failed to make enough of an impression in his short stint at the end of last season and didn't get asked to join the FIBA World Cup team. But now, Sharpe could be pushing towards joining the Canadian national basketball team at the Paris Olympics in 2024. He might have a similar approach as Anthony Edwards in the World Cup. Sharpe will be a third-year player on the verge of a breakout season and could really take over the starting small forward spot for the national team if he performs well enough this season. Something to look forward to, that's for sure. The Blazers are undoubtedly in rebuild mode, and so the question becomes, what moves will they make before the deadline? They already have their young point guard in Scoot Henderson, franchise shooting guard in Shaedon Sharpe, and now a young former first overall pick at center in DeAndre Ayton. They have all the building blocks needed to recreate their roster. So what happens to the older players now? Jeremy Grant is on a monster contract, and Portland would have trouble finding any suitors for him at this time. However, I think that they would want to keep him around anyway as a mentor and team leader to help guide the youth program they're running. Malcolm Brogdon, on the other hand, is someone I could see getting moved to a contender before the deadline. After seeing how well Sharpe has been playing in his absence, Portland would be confident that any hole that Brogdon left will be filled. They could get some very decent picks in exchange for him and hand more minutes out amongst their younger players to prioritize development. This is only Shaedon Sharpe's second year, or first if you take in the fact he only started playing at the very end of last season. But I'm already excited to see how much he improves next year, as it's common for third-year players to make the leap and establish themselves amongst the upper bracket of talent. I mean, he's got all the attributes he needs, and now he's going to play big minutes for probably the rest of the season, so will only improve as Portland gives him the green light. Coming into his draft, Sharpe was compared to the likes of Jalen Green and Bradley Beal as his offensive ceiling, with the defensive capabilities of someone like Andrew Wiggins. His weaknesses were listed as attacking the basket off the dribble and his playmaking abilities. For someone with such insane athleticism, attacking the basket doesn't seem like it would be a long-term problem, but rather just a lack of confidence. Lucky for him, he has plenty of time to develop that confidence. The sky's the limit for Shaedon, and Portland could have one of the most athletic and frightening backcourts in the league one day. Do we think he's going to be better than Scoot Henderson for the Blazers, or will the young prodigy bounce back once he's healthy? I hope you enjoyed your walk down Hoop Street, and we'll catch you in the next one.